Well, after a week off, the Beer Atlantic is back. Unfortunately, I feel like the Mid-Atlantic has switched places with the Pacific Northwest. It's been non-stop rain, and it's got me down. So today I'm on the search for some comfort beer. And to me, comfort beers are sours. They are acidic, bright, they fill you with energy and pick you up. So today I'm on the search for some local sour beers. I'm JP Sloan, and this is the Beer Atlantic. Ah, sours. Some maintain that sours are an acquired taste. A taste well worth acquiring, in my humble opinion.
So what's the deal with sour beers anyway? What makes a beer sour? Well, as you may know, most beers are fermented from brewer's yeast, a kind of Saccharomyces that is a yeast that transforms sugar into carbon dioxide and into alcohol. Well, you can also get certain flavors and a fermentation from bacteria. And there are some bacteria that are used in creating sour beers because they also create a lot of acid and some other flavor compounds that make for a delightful beverage. How do you make a sour beer though? Well, it's generally speaking a method of adding bacteria in lieu of yeast or in addition to yeast to create the beer you're looking for. The problem becomes bacteria tends to hang up in your system, so you got to be careful. If you have any kind of rubber or soft seals, generally speaking, bacteria is hard to clean. It's a lot easier to get rid of bacteria if it's only on glass or steel or something that's easily scrubbed, easily sanitized with chemicals. So, there are several ways you can get a sour beer. You can do it from pre-boil and post-boil, and both have their pluses and minuses. If you're a home brewer, going post-boil means you're going to have to dedicate entire truckloads of your equipment to nothing but sours because it's going to be really difficult to get rid of those bacteria in your environment. However, if you're a professional, it's even more deadly, so you're going to want to get that bacteria on the front end of the boil where the high temperatures tend to actually destroy the bacteria and get rid of them. You have a couple choices. You can do a sour mash where you throw in some bacteria on top of your mash. This is a very traditional method and really hard to control. A lot of homebrewers tend to try to do this because it behooves them. They usually use a kind of mash tun that's based off of like an igloo cooler or something that holds heat very well. Sometimes you can throw a little bit of the grains right on top of your mash and let it sit for a day or two. You get what you get though, because you're getting a random sampling of whatever happens to be on the grain. A little more tried and true method would be what's called a kettle sour. And that would be where you introduce your lactobacillus right into the container you're going to boil in. The trick there is you do need to maintain a temperature because the bacteria does need to have a degree of heat to work. And for a pro, that's not a problem. In a big system, you can keep that heat where you need it. Homebrewers, on the other hand, usually use some kind of kettle, a kegel, a pot, something that's really hard to maintain 110 degrees for a period of time. And also, you want to cover your lactobacillus with a degree of carbon dioxide to keep from these other compounds with the oxygen mixing and basically make it taste like someone barfed in your mash tun.
So still, there's something to be said for a nice long post-boil fermentation with bacterial cultures. You can create such an incredible richness and depth of flavors, especially when the malts interplay with the acidity. That's what you find in the traditional Flanders Red and Flanders Brown styles, for example. Which brings me to one of my favorite beers. The Liefmans Hoedenbahn. This is a wonderful beer, and I keep a couple bottles of this on hand because I just adore it. Unfortunately, it's more beer than I can drink in one sitting. So it sits alone by itself in the refrigerator. Alas, the trials of a beer snob. But enough navel-gazing. Let's hit the road and try out some local sours. So my first stop on my sours tour here in Frederick would be Barley Knob. And here we got the Harlot. This one is a nice, bracingly sour beer. I'm really enjoying this. It's kettle soured, so it was on the side before the boil. And it really came across with that kind of bracing sourness. This is not delicate. This is in your face. If anything could be said that isn't in praise, it's that it's a little one note. You're getting what you're paying for, a sour beer. The grain is a bit subdued. Now this has actually been on tap for a little bit, and it's just a one-off, so this won't last very long. If you're seeing this episode and it's still available, come and grab some. Yeah, sunny, unlike outside. One sour that's not a one-off is a raspberry sour that has risen to flagship status at Old Mother Brewing.
So here I am at Old Mother Brewing. This place has one of the best sours in town, in my opinion. This little sucker right here. It's a raspberry sour called Stage Fright. But this is a delicate, nice little summery, easy drinking, low alcohol, moderate carbonation. It's a joyous little thing. Lots of nice raspberry on the nose. And I'm not a big fruit guy, to be honest, but the truth is, the fruit that's there is not simple. It's floral, complex, but the malt is simple. So what you get is just a easy drinking sour. Just enough sourness to kick you right in the corners. And I've had this off and on over the last couple of months, and the sourness does fluctuate batch to batch, I've found. This batch in particular is a little on the light side of the sourness, but it's still a really enjoyable beer. A little prickly. There's that little huskiness that goes really well with the raspberry. I understand a lot of people like to mix this with their stout as kind of black and tan because, you know, raspberries and chocolate, they never mix.
While packing up my gear, I received a personal recommendation from the brewers at Old Mother to try a newly released hibiscus goza across town at Monocy Brewing Company. What the hell, let's try it. Okay, so here we are at Monocy Brewing, and I've got their Goza of Althea. I was recommended to come here from Old Mother, specifically to try this Goza. So this is a traditional sour style, and it has been brewed with some hibiscus, hence that lovely color you're seeing, some Pearl and Galaxy hops, and some coriander. Let me try this out. Oh, but that's good. That is really good. This is a really, really strong sour, which is what I like, because I have a high threshold for sour, and I really want something to catch my attention. The hibiscus notes are not lost in it. It's well balanced. Easily the best sour in Frederick today. Well, my spirits are lifted already. I've had 3 pretty good sour beers today. Ultimately, I think the Goza here at Monocy was just a grand slam straight out the park. A wonderful, complex beer, which I've discovered as I talked to the guys behind the bar, is actually going to be bottled soon. It'll be available in the shops, so keep your eyes out for that. Well, in the meantime, we're all going to be praying for sunny weather in the future. But in the meantime, this is JP Sloan for the Beer Atlantic. I'll see you next week. Cheers. And I don't have anyone to drink it with, so... dog.